Welcome back to Jersey Matters. We continue our conversation now with Homeland Security expert John Cohen, who is also a professor at Rutgers University. The 9/11 Commission has been out now for 10 years, and not every recommendation made has been implemented. Why?
Well, I think part of the problem is that we're a very polarized political environment today, and whereas in the years that immediately followed 9/11, I think there was a lot more bipartisan cooperation to deal with many of these issues. And that's why many of the issues that the 9/11 Commission identified have been addressed, particularly in the areas of information sharing and multi-level of government cooperation.
There has been a call for a new 9/11 Commission. Do you agree with that?
I do. I think the 9/11 Commission did an excellent job looking at the threat as it related to 9/11. But the threat environment we face today is very different. Social media and the internet, for example, wasn't as significant of a player as it is today. It is, in a sense, a game changer in the terrorist threat world. So I think while many of the fundamental recommendations of the 9/11 Commission would remain the same, I think we need a refresh, because in many ways, bureaucratic inertia is preventing us from addressing the most significant terrorism-related threats that are facing the country.
Much was made during the campaign about the visa program and the fact that it was somehow an open door to terrorism because we were not vetting people properly. Was that the case? And if it was, has it been fixed?
Improvements have been made, and today, whether it's Customs and Border Protection or the State Department, people are vetted against a much broader array of classified and unclassified information than, say, 5 years ago. The problem is that we haven't fully automated that process. So while in many respects, the extreme vetting that's been called for through the presidential campaign, parts of that are in place. What we really could do to improve it is make it more automated, connect the systems better so that it can be done without having to use as many human resources that are currently needed in order to do this vetting.
That's a better way of doing it. Is that going to be done? Do you know? I mean, is anybody following through with this?
Well, work is continuing within the Department of Homeland Security. My concern is that the way they structured the executive order that would have allowed us to expand a focus on improving the vetting process was married together with the travel ban, which from my perspective provides no security value, but it does distract from the overarching priority, which is improving our vetting.
I'm glad you brought up executive orders, because recently Donald Trump rescinded an executive order from President Obama that was called DACA, but it basically was because he couldn't get the DREAM Act passed. And so he signed a law saying that if you were born in another country and brought here through no fault or no will of your own, you'll be okay. We'll leave you alone. That's been rescinded for 6 months until Congress can act on it. You wrote an opinion piece recently for Philly.com and the Philadelphia Inquirer saying that DACA and people coming here, children coming here, are not a security threat. And you got some blowback on that. Can you explain?
The problem with rescinding the DACA program, and if Congress doesn't act to pass legislation that offers some type of protection for these individuals, they all become susceptible to being targeted for enforcement action, which means you have ICE agents not working on preventing technologies from getting to North Korea and Iran, not working on joint terrorism task forces. You have the potential that those resources are going to be diverted to go after people who pose no risk to this country whatsoever. So my point here is simply we have a lot of really big problems facing this country. We face a threat from foreign terrorists. We're having an increase of mass casualty shootings. We have violent crime on the rise in cities across the country. We have an opioid crisis that is beginning to impact communities across the nation. You have countries like North Korea and Iran continuing to try to obtain nuclear weapons. We need our law enforcement resources focused on those problems, not focusing on people who contribute to our communities and who pose no risk to the country.
Sir, thank you so much. I appreciate it as always. John Cohen is a professor at Rutgers University. He is a former Undersecretary of Homeland Security, and also for that department, he was a coordinator of counterterrorism. When we come back. Still to come, our Kimberly Kravitz visits New Jersey's most famous 9/11 memorial. That's when Jersey Matters continues.